To my channel, Sarah Hallam Ceramics, aka the Stokey Potter, from my home studio in Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire, UK. My dongle's not working, so I'm having to kind of do things manually, so I'll put that down. So I'm going to bring you along with me this morning as I turn this mug. So I threw the mug body last week. This is Laguna 608 clay. Bought it from our local supplier, Glaze. Talk about them a lot because I'm just so proud, and I think it's just brilliant that we've got access to such amazing ceramic supply stores in Stoke-on-Trent. So yeah, I'm gonna show you how I turn a mug. I'll do the putting the handle on at a later stage because I've got about 10 mug bodies to get turned. So this has been taken out of my damp box this morning, so it's just the right consistency to start turning. So what I'm going to do is I'll put the mug down and put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. That's always a good idea, isn't it? Oh, you can see. Now I'm just going to turn you down. There we go. So hope you can see there. And let's get started. So I use the suction method for turning. I don't like to use lugs of clay. I used to do when I first started. I suppose I need to turn my wheel on. So my wheel is a Shimpo RK55, aka Yippee clay. So what I do is I use a suction method, a little bit of water around the rim, line it up on the rings of the wheel, turn it on. Is it on? Yeah, so that's nowhere near centered. So just spend a little bit of time getting it as centered as I can. So sometimes I find, because I'm still quite new to throwing, I'm only 3 years into my journey, sometimes it might not look centered down here because maybe the rim's slightly off, but when you actually put your finger on the top, on the base, that's pretty good. So I use the Hartley and Noble Batt system. I've got the Russian doll system. So that's kind of one of the pieces. I have done a little video on how I set myself up with that, so I might load that up at some point. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'll start my wheel, nice little gentle tap, and then I'll just give it a little bit of a jiggle just to make sure that it's centered. It's not moved about, so I'm happy with that. Always keep one hand on a piece though, because you never know when you get ones that fly away. So I really like to use this tool, which is the Mud Tools. I didn't always used to use this because I found it quite scary. I always used to use an older one, an older piece, which everybody's got one of those, the loop tools, but it needs sharpening. It's quite dull now, so I need to have a look at how I can sharpen it. So anyway, I'm going to shut up and get started. So what I tend to do is I start just at the top, and I kind of just gradually work my way down. So I'm not really wanting to kind of define the edge too much, because I used a rib tool when I threw it, so I'm pretty much where I want to be. I guess what I want to do is I just want to smooth it out. So really happy with the shape. Just gradually work the tool all the way down. And what I like about using the suction method is you've not got any lugs of clay in the way. Like I say, it's kind of my preferred way. So just having a quick look at the base, see how much I need to take off. Yeah, I try and throw my bases quite thick because I like to put a good foot in mine. So I'll just kind of smooth out the bottom. I'm not going to talk all the way through because I actually find this process quite meditative, relaxing, let's use that word. And actually, I think if I'm yammering on all the way through, kind of distracts a little bit from the relaxation for me anyway. So I'm quite happy with that now. So what I'm going to do is, because I've got this shape here, which I've added with the rib tool, I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to put in another separate foot there. So I think I'm just going to keep that as it is for now and just put a foot in the actual base. So with a bit of luck, I should be pretty even, which I am. So that's good, because you never know. So what I always do, I set myself a marker. I want to have a decent enough size foot ring. So hopefully you can kind of see that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to work my way to the edge. And I watched a potter a long time ago who always suggested that you do that with the corner of the tool, and what that does is it actually makes it easier for the tool to glide over, and it actually helps to kind of pick up more of the clay, and you can actually turn more clay out in one pass over. I don't like to go too deep, as I say, because I've gone through so many bottoms doing that. And like I say, I'm still quite new to pottery. I think, 3 years, coming up to 3 years, walking into my first pottery class. So I absolutely love turning. It's probably my favourite part, actually. I prefer it to everything. I always look forward to turning. So have a quick scan at that. So I'm just going to define the edge a bit more. Get my finger and just give it one final feel. Yeah, feels quite even, so happy with that. So now I'm going to burnish. Now I used to burnish with just the rubber rib that everybody's got, and then I watched a potter who I'm terrible. I need to start making a note of potters that give me some great tips, so that I can shout them out. So I've got this. It's like a quartz. I've had it quite a while. Oh, looks like a heart, squished heart. And it's just a great tool to use for burnishing, and I'll show you how I use it. But I also can use this piece, this part here, for rims. So I'll show you how I use that in a bit. So what I do is I just get the flat bottom. I haven't just gouged the cup. I have. Ah! Just tidy that up. Do you know the amount of pieces I've ruined by gouging them with my nails? I think I've managed to save that. Right, that's because I'm not concentrating, so I'm going to concentrate. So what the burnishing does is it just pushes the grog back into the clay, I believe. I think that's what it does. Because obviously when you've been turning it and working it and perhaps using a sponge, the grog comes to the surface of the clay, and by burnishing it, it kind of pushes that grog back into the clay and smooths it out. And I've noticed that since I've started to do this more, the burnishing, it actually really helps with your glaze adhesion as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gradually work my way down the side. So if you've got any curves in your piece, you know, that it kind of really lends itself. And you can feel the surface of the clay change. Sometimes when I do that, it can leave a little bit of a ridge, and sometimes I leave that because I quite like it. And sometimes if I don't want to leave it in there, then I will get that rib and I'll just smooth it out. So I'm quite happy with that. So both hands on the piece and push forward. There we go. So I have kind of gone out of shape a little bit, so just get by. Put it in, just give it a bit of a twisty. So I realise that I should have done the rim first before I did the bottom. I normally do. I forgot because I was stressing about filming this. So what I'm going to do, as I'm going to do it now, but I would normally do it the other way. So a little bit of water on the foot, same principle. Give it a little bit of a jiggle to build up a tiny bit of slip. And then I kind of eyeball it to start off with. I use my fingers to line up with the ridges on the wheel. Wow, that's pretty good for a first attempt. Happy with that. So just give it another little bit of a wiggle, see if it's stuck, which I think it is, so that's lucky. So what I'm going to do now is I throw my mugs relatively thickly, and again this is something else that I learned recently, and I know most people like to drink out of quite a thin rim, as do I don't like a really thick rim on my mugs. So what I saw recently was throw your rim relatively thick, and then when you come to turn it, you can turn in like a chamfer, like an angle on the inside. So from the outside of the mug, it appears to be quite thin. When you're drinking from it, your lips are touching the thinner part of the rim, but actually you're not losing the integrity of the piece. So hopefully it reduces the risk of cracking and chipping as well. So that's the theory. So what I tend to do is I use this part of the tool, put it in, I anchor my elbow on my knee, I anchor the, what do we call it, the tool, grab hold of the piece, and I do that for lots of reasons: to anchor myself, to catch the mug if it flies off, and also just put a finger on there, angle the tool because I want an angled turn, and then just ever so gently start to turn in that let's have a quick look and a quick feel. I think I might take a little bit off the outside as well. So as with throwing, the same applies when you're turning. You always want your hands to be connected or touching in some way. Now I've got quite a few throwing lines in there, and I'm going to leave them. Because I think it adds quite a nice texture. So happy with that. So now I'll get my little nifty tool again, and this is where this bit comes in. So turning it upside down, place it over the rim, and I just work it to the inside and the outside. So it's kind of doing three jobs really. It's burnishing the inside rim, the top of the rim, and the outside. I think I got this on Amazon. Like I say, I've had it a while, and I've probably only really started to use it in this last few weeks, couple of weeks maybe. So I'm going to use this part, this angle part on the inside, just to burnish it a little bit more, all the way down to the bottom, slowly, and then gradually bring it back up, because I don't really want to remove those turning lines if possible. And then using my yellow rib, just want to get some of those crumbs and things out the bottom. rest of those out when I'm done. So the final burnishing I do with my nail. And then I just spend a little bit of time just making sure that there isn't any last little minute bits that I'll need to There you go. I think I'm happy with that. 2 hands again, push away. So what I do, just got a paintbrush just to clean out all the crumbs. There you go. This little just give it a little bit of a check. Check I've not done anything with the bottom. So now I'm going to put my maker's mark in. So I made myself a little prop. So it's literally just a caffeine boost thing with a sponge, an elastic band on the top. It just helps me to rest that on the bottom. It's my maker's mark. This was a Christmas present 2 years ago from my brother and sister-in-law. And then I just ever so gently kind of rock it around to make sure that it's so yeah, happy with that. I am going to look at getting a smaller one made, same but just smaller, for smaller pieces. And I like to put the year on that I've made a piece. So I'll start with the O, and then I'll get the 2, I'll go 2 either side of the O, and then I got my 5, making sure that I put the 5 the right way up. I have put it upside down quite a few times. Gently take that out. There we go. Maker's Mark 2025. Ready for a handle. Thank you. Tilt it back up. So, thank you very much for watching. As always, really appreciate your likes, your comments. Thank you to everybody that's subscribed so far. When I checked before I came on this morning, I think I was up to 196, 97 subscribers. It's just, brain's just like, oh my goodness me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, carry on turning, and next time you see me, I will be putting handles on. So I'm not sure whether or not I'll do this as a separate post and then do the handles, or whether or not I'll do it as one piece. So yeah, I hope you all having a fabulous day wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.